Good morning. What I'm doing today, this morning, just for a very brief, I'm going to go over some subnet masking with you guys that you're going to need for one of your upcoming packet tracer labs. I can't remember if it's a packet tracer or a lab, but either way. Okay, so, and as you can see, this is actually take 2 because I messed up this video, and so now I'm having to do it all over again. But I really didn't want to write all that stuff back down, although I guess I'll have to, at least to some extent. Okay, so what we were talking about is subnet masking. Okay, IPv4 subnet masking is a very valuable skill, and if you've taken CTI 120 or Net 110, you've probably already seen this, so this might be a refresher course, but just in case, we're going to go over it again. Okay, so our assignment. What we're given initially is a subnet, and this is actually how it works in the real world. Your boss will say, look, here are the networks that you can work with on this job, because companies have to pay for public IP addresses. So if you're using a public IP address, then you have to make the best of it. You can't waste any addresses because that's expensive. Okay, so in this case, we're given a starting out IP address of 192.168.1.0. That is our network address, and this just happens to be a private Class C address, so it has a default subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Now, our task is to make multiple networks because we're trying to route here, right? And if you're going to route from one network to another, that implies more than one network. Otherwise, we would all just be on the same LAN. Now, if we were on the same LAN, we could just use this network. It has space for 256 minus 2, because remember, we can't use the network address, which in this case is 192.168.1.0. We also can't use the broadcast address. The broadcast address is going to be .255. That's the last address in that network. We're not allowed to use it. Okay. So what we're going to do, we need to cut this thing up into multiple subnetworks. And we need one subnet that can accommodate 58 hosts. We need another subnet that can accommodate 26 hosts. And we need another subnet that can accommodate 12 hosts. Now, we don't want to waste any addresses, so we want to hit as close to these numbers, kind of like on The Price is Right. We're going to get as close as we can without going under. Okay, so let's get that done. All right, so with IPv4, each of these, this is dotted decimal notation, but each of these represents an octet. This octet is 8 ones, 8 ones, 8 ones, and then the last one is 8 zeros. So we're not going to mess with the first 3 octets. We're just going to leave them alone. But the last octet we are going to modify. Now, if we leave this as a 0, that's just one network. But what we can do is we can borrow bits, starting with the leftmost. And so if I add another 1, okay, so now I've extended my network, address. I'm going to reduce the number of hosts on each network. Okay, so if I use this first bit, that's the 128 slot. Remember, it's 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 0. Okay, if I use this first bit, then my octet value is going to be 128. What does that get me? Well, that gives me 2 networks. I've just split that into 2 networks with 128 addresses in each network. 128 minus 2, which is 126 usable addresses. Don't forget the network and the broadcast. Okay, so is that more than 58? Yes, but remember, we're trying to conserve space here, so we want to get closer to the 58 if we can. All right, so if I take another bit, Okay, so that's going to be 128 plus 64, which is 192. Okay, well that's going to give me 4 networks, and each network is going to have 64 minus 2, 62 hosts. Well, 62 is as close as I'm going to get to 58. Okay, so let's do that. Which means that our first network, our first subnetwork, is going to be 192.168.1.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.192. And my address range is going to be from .0 to .63, right? Okay, 0 is going to be my network, 63 is going to be my broadcast. I've got 62 host addresses total that I can use. Okay, cool. We got that done. All right, our next task. We're supposed to accommodate 26 hosts. Remember, will this accommodate 26 hosts? Yeah, but it's going to have a lot of addresses wasted. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cannibalize another bit. Okay, so we're going to take another bit here. Okay, so now what does our subnet mask look like? Well, it's going to be 128 plus 64, which is 192. That's what we had originally. Okay, and then we're going to add another bit, which is 32. This is the 32 column. So with a total of 224. All right, so our next network is going to start at 192.168.1.64. That's going to be our network address. And it's going to have 32 addresses, right? So it's going to go up through 95. Remember, these are inclusive. Okay, so we're going to go up through 95. That's going to be our new broadcast address. Our new subnet mask for this particular network is going to be 255.255.255.224 because we use those 3 bits, right? And that's going to give us 30 hosts, 30 host addresses that we can use. Will that satisfy our need? Yes. Done deal. Okay, now we need another. Now, will this same network scheme work if we just go again? And will that give us more than 12? Yes, but it's going to give us way more than 12. Again, wasted addresses. We don't want that. So we're going to subnet yet again. All right, so remember, we need 12 hosts. All right, so we took 1 bit, that gives us 128 host addresses. Take another bit, that gives us 64. Take another bit, that gives us 32. Take another bit, that gives us 16. Okay, 16 total, 14 usable. Remember, it's n minus 2, right? Okay, so if I take another bit, then that's going to be 128 plus 64 is 192, plus 32 is 224, plus 16 more is going to be 240. Okay, that'll give us 14 usable hosts and 2, 4, 8, 16 total networks. So we're still going to have loads of addresses left on this particular network that we can use later if we need to. Will that satisfy our 12 commitment? Yes, it will. Okay, so what's it going to look like? All right, well, our network is going to start, network address is going to be 192.168.1.96. Okay, and it's going to go up through, because we've got 16 hosts, that's going to go up through 111, right? Because 112 would be the next network in this scheme. So that's going to give us 14 usable host addresses, and our subnet mask is going to look like 255.255.255.240. Okay, so now what we can do is we can use these numbers to fill in the table that's in the lab activity, and this is going to tell us, okay, subnet A is going to be here, subnet B is going to be here, subnet C is going to be here. And with that data in hand, now we can perform the lab activity, because now we know what our addressing scheme is going to be for each of these subnets. Okay, so hopefully this helps a little bit. And I will, I think what I'm going to do is maybe do a walkthrough of that lab and make a video of it so you guys can kind of see how I put this into practice. All right, thanks very much. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.